冰岛总统托马斯多蒂尔访华期间接受高端访谈专访，他表示，全球妇女峰会的举办意义非凡。
This is not only important for China, I think it's important for the global states.
他积极评价两国合作。
I think together Iceland and China can tell a story about how a smaller country and a bigger country can work together using each other's strength.
他认为世界需要多边主义。
We are interdependent as people, as countries, as regions in this world.
高端访谈，敬请收看。
关注国际焦点，洞察世界风云。大家好，欢迎来到本期的高端访谈，我是邹韵。今天我们要对话的嘉宾是冰岛总统托马斯多蒂尔，来华出席全球妇女峰会。他如何评价中国为全球妇女事业做出的贡献？中国和冰岛即将在明年迎来建交55周年，他如何看待两国关系的发展和未来合作的深化？逛故宫、品烤鸭，他又是如何理解中国文化的呢？今天我们一起在对话中寻找答案。
1995年，联合国第4次世界妇女大会在北京召开，会议通过《北京宣言》和行动纲领，成为世界妇女事业发展的里程碑。30年后的2025年10月，全球妇女峰会在北京召开，全球各方相聚于此，再次为加速妇女全面发展凝心聚力。10月13日。一个身影出现在了峰会的发言席上，他就是冰岛总统托马斯多蒂尔。
We all want to be seen, valued, and heard.
在讲话中，托马斯多蒂尔高度赞赏中国为促进世界妇女事业做出的重要贡献。
China's achievement in advancing gender equality and green energy are an important reminder that change is possible. Let us carry that lesson forward. In a world marked by uncertainty, conflict, and accelerating climate breakdown.
Madam President, thank you so much for joining us on Leaders Talk.
It's my pleasure and honor to be here.
Participating in the Global Leaders Meeting on Women and coming to Beijing, which is the city that adopted the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action in 1995, which we heard had been a great inspiration for you for many years. So how do you feel, and what were your major takeaways and insights from this meeting?
Yeah, I'm so honored to be invited to be here 30 years after the world's first female president was elected in my country and came here 30 years later. I am here as the second female president of my country, Iceland. Gender equality to me is about sustainability, it's about peaceful coexistence, it's about sharing power between big and small countries. I think this was an important moment, and to me the issue of gender balance and gender equality has always been at the heart of my agenda. So for me to be here was a great honor.
So as the pioneer of gender equality, we're on that front. What kind of advice can Iceland share with the rest of the world?
And it is relatively well known that Iceland leads the world when it comes to closing the gender gap. But what is important to me, and always has been, that we share our learnings and lessons with the world. And why I have been so passionate about closing the gender gap is that if you truly want to be a powerful country, if you truly want to unlock the full potential of what we have within a country or within a company or within the world, you want to help everyone to matter. And that's how you become truly strong as an economy. It's smart economics to me, and it's also a very clever way to build a society that doesn't just compete, but also cares for its people and its shared home, the planet. And this to me is the heart of gender balance.
Yesterday at the opening ceremony, President Xi delivered a keynote speech in which he made 4 proposals to accelerate the process of women's all-round development. So how do you think those proposals will inject new impetus into the global cause of women's development?
We had your President Xi Jinping putting out not just a bold statement, but bold commitments to gender equality. And I think in a world where we are facing backlash on an agenda that I think is incredibly important for the development of the world, both economically and socially. Having a male president of a superpower like China stand up and say this is an agenda that matters to us and we need to rejuvenate the agenda we agreed on 30 years ago and come together around gender equality in general, women in leadership, and women's rights. And so I'm very grateful for this opportunity, and I think it's very timely and important. So I think this is not only important for China, I think it's important for the global states that global leaders come together and say this is an imperative for the 21st century. This is an imperative to be future fit for countries and the world alike. I believe girl power is maybe the missing engine for a more sustainable and peaceful world. It's not just about rights, it's about doing the right thing for your country and for the world. So I don't think this is just a nice to do or a small imperative. I think it may be that goal 5 of the sustainable agenda to really empower women and girls everywhere holds the key to delivering the full sustainable agenda. I see it as that critical. The key to a livable world, I sometimes say.
Your speech at the opening ceremony, you spoke highly about China's achievements in lifting millions of people out of poverty, as well as advancing gender equality and green energy. And you have called them these achievements as important reminder that change is possible.
Yes.
So, Madam President, we're really curious to know which of these advancements in China's modernization process and development looks the most inspirational to you?
It's easily framed as I think we are facing 2 massive crises that are interdependent. One of them is the climate emergency and the fact that we have reached or surpassed the boundaries that keep our planet in balance on so many fronts. That's a real emergency. And the other emergency I believe we're facing is inequality. And on both fronts, China has made remarkable strides forward. If you think about lifting, it's hard even for a president of a small country population-wise like Iceland to imagine what it takes to lift hundreds of millions of people out of poverty. But you have achieved that. You've also made great advances in clean energy, particularly solar and wind, and you have just as a country come to the climate conversation during UN General Assembly and made the bold commitment to peak emissions in 2030 and to reduce it by 7 to 10% by 2035. So you are showing up for the global challenges, I would say, while also taking care of the challenges at home. So I think we should realize that all of us, that when China sets an ambitious goal, you seem to be quite good at executing against it and sometimes even do a better job. And I have high hopes that China is, with the commitments that your president made yesterday.
Earlier today, before our interview, and a very important meeting between President Xi and you was held, and both sides exchanged ideas on some of the most pressing issues concerning bilateral tie. So how was the meeting, and what were your major takeaways from this meeting with President Xi?
It was a wonderful meeting, as was the great honor I had to sit next to President Xi and his wonderful wife, Madame Peng, yesterday for luncheon after the leaders' meeting. So we had already made a connection and spoken both on a personal note, also about the big challenges in the world. This morning, I'm quite pleased to say that some of the stories I had heard about President Xi Jinping visiting Iceland early in his career. And this is a big country. We are a tiny country, but we have a big heart. And it really speaks to our heart when people recognize the natural beauty, the aurora borealis, the fact that we have something to offer to a big country like China. We spoke mostly about geothermal and how we have trained for a long time in Iceland, for nearly 4 decades, Chinese engineers in geothermal capacity, and how there is now a joint venture between China and Arctic Green, an Icelandic company that is really looking to utilize geothermal, already doing it in 70 cities in China, but has the potential to do so much more. So a small country that used its creativity and natural resources back in the 70s as a pioneer is now able to help a large country do that and hopefully help China meet its climate goals. But also, I think together Iceland and China can tell a story about how a smaller country and a bigger country can work together using each other's strengths. So perhaps our 2 countries together can also help other countries get inspired about what is possible when it comes to the green transition.
This year actually marks the 30th anniversary of Icelandic embassy here in Beijing.
That's right.
Which is the first foreign mission in Asia. And also next year, 2026, will mark the 55th anniversary of diplomatic relations between our 2 countries.
That's
so, Madam
right.
President, how do you envision taking the opportunity of this milestone to further enhance the pragmatic cooperation between the 2 sides?
I shared the story earlier that your president have visited Iceland and it left an impression on them. I think for those of us who have the honor and opportunity to visit China, it leaves an impression on us. So people-to-people relations should not be underestimated, or tourism to get to know one another. There is power in proximity. But when we have more engagement, when we get to know one another, opportunities rise from that. We already have a company working in China called Össur. It's a leading prosthetics company in the world, so we have some experience in health tech. China is already buying quite a lot of Icelandic seafood and appreciating it, just as we appreciate Chinese food. And tourism and trade has really been growing positively since Iceland was the first European country to recognize China as a market economy and to do a free trade agreement. So I think we have opportunities to work on many levels. I think it's just important that we understand who's good at what, and I think Iceland's creative entrepreneurship is something to be taken to scale in good partnership, including with China. And I hope together, a small country and a big country can stand up for a multilateral world where we respect each other's sovereignty, each other's strengths, each other's cultures and history, but are able to find common ground facing those big challenges, because none of the challenges we face now have national boundaries. They require us to close the gender gap, the generational gap, and the global gaps we typically experience. So I think new leadership is about bridging all of those gaps and facing those massive global challenges together, each of us working from our strengths, all of us recognizing that it will take all of us to address this, and no one will go the distance alone.
And this is also something that you exchange ideas with President Xi earlier today, because you recognize, acknowledge China's leadership very important role in addressing some of the major global challenges.
Yes. I think it takes great courage at a time like this for your president to stand up and boldly say that empowering women and girls, that closing the gender gap is part of the agenda of developing China's economy and society in the right direction. So I think this matters, and I think it matters that China is an advocate for peaceful dialogue and resolution of solving our differences. And so I think China has a very important role to play. And maybe we are a little humble in these small countries in the Nordics that we have something to offer to China. But I think we always, as human beings, as organizations, and as countries, have something to offer each other. But are we open enough and curious enough to learn from each other? Probably determines the path we will take as a world. And right now, maybe many of us are shutting our eyes and ears and our borders towards each other. And I really believe that opening our eyes and ears and hearts towards each other is the only way forward for humanity, and I hope that's the path we choose.
冰岛位于北大西洋中部，是欧洲第2大岛。这是一座在烈焰中诞生的火山之岛，也是一座地处北极圈的寒冰之岛。特殊的地理条件让这个冰与火之国有着丰富的渔业、水利和地热资源。作为世界上地热资源最丰富的国家之一，冰岛拥有成熟的地热开发和利用技术，积累了丰富的实践经验。中冰两国地热合作优势互补，由来已久。这不仅是商业合作的成果，更是两国携手应对气候危机的体现。在当前世界能源格局深刻重构的背景下，地热能在减缓气候变化和实现绿色转型中发挥重要作用，也成为连接中冰共谋未来的绿色纽带。
Just as you noted, that green energy as well as sustainable development is one of the highlights of cooperation between our two nations.
Yes.
With Iceland's extensive experience in geothermal resource utilization and with China's very strong commitment to achieving its dual carbon goals.
Yeah.
So how do you think both countries can work together, making joint efforts towards building a greener and more equitable world?
Well, I think the obvious opportunity is in geothermal and taking that to scale in China and beyond, and there is a willingness and a memorandum to do so ahead. But I think there's also interesting opportunities around, for example, carbon capture, which is something that Iceland has also been pioneering. And I think there are increasingly coming about sustainable solutions in the innovation economy in Iceland, ranging from we are rethinking plastics in the algae or seaweed revolution. We're rethinking livestock feed and even food for humans through that seaweed revolution. Iceland is rich of this. It's a pioneering country that can pilot solutions, but really is not equipped to take things to the world. China is. So I see lots of opportunities to work on innovations.
Madam President, you have also emphasized the importance of multilateralism and free trade. And
Yes.
Iceland is actually leading as an example. Well, in light of this growing trend that certain countries imposing tariffs and export bans, are you concerned about this will impact, for instance, global trade as well as the global trade system?
I am concerned, I have to be honest. I didn't think after all these decades of progress in the world and many rather peaceful decades that we would go backwards. I didn't expect this to happen. And I don't think leaders who are okay think this is the way to go. I think you have to be a little lost to think that you're stronger alone than together. We cannot solve any of the major challenges that are happening by going it alone. What is the joy of a life alone? We are interdependent as people, as countries, as regions in this world. And I think it may be an example of what often happens in my own life, in organizational life, in even a country's development, that sometimes the darkest hours are right before the sun rises. And I think that's a metaphor that I try to hold on to, that when it's very difficult, it is only because it's going to be a growth period. We're going to learn something and come out of it as stronger and more able to be part of a lighter way of seeing the world. And I think we need to choose leaders who are stubbornly optimistic that we, working together, can come up with solutions, show what is possible, spread the stories of it, work together on them, scale them at the speed that the current state of the world requires, and continue to do trade and tourism and people-to-people and cultural relations so that we can trust each other as we navigate those very stormy seas that I definitely see, but I refuse to be the victim of.
Actually, Iceland is also gaining its popularity as a tourist destination among Chinese tourists, as you have mentioned just now. Well, apart from this extensive glaciers, as well as northern lights, some of the icy viewpoints that our viewers are already very familiar with. Madam President, is there something, the certain aspect, the warmth of hospitality that you would like to share with the viewers, given this is a land of ice as well as fire?
We certainly are a land of ice on fire, and we've noticed that our Chinese guests have really enjoyed the northern lights sitting in a hot tub. So that seems to be like the perfect combination, and after being up on a glacier is a perfect day. Yes. But I would say that just as I find being here in China, it is the warmth of your people that grabs my heart. I would say the same about the Icelandic people. We are open-hearted, well-educated, friendly, generous people. We also, like here in China, enjoy a good cuisine. Food in Iceland and our chefs are absolutely amazing. So the quality of life and well-being is incredibly sought after in Iceland and leaves an impression on most. And I always say that in a world where we are so tethered to our mobile phones and all the apps on them, sitting in a hot tub or hot water and having real dialogue with real people is maybe the beginning of the dialogues that we need to solve any of the world's challenges, or just to feel good. Because human-to-human interaction,
heart-to-heart, right,
without the screens, is probably a prescription for well-being. So I say visit a local geothermal swimming pool and meet the people of Iceland and have conversations, and I think you'll find an open-hearted person wherever you go.
We have to label as President's recommendation.
Yes.
For Chinese tourists particularly.
Well, there's a long list. An active volcano might be on the list as well, because we certainly have had series of them. But that's nothing to worry about. We are very good at reacting to the natural wonders of Iceland. We will continue to welcome Chinese guests to our country, and I hope more Icelanders will come and get to experience China.
That's right.
In real life, because I think that's always different than from what you can see from far.
Exactly. So coming here this time to Beijing, instead of seeing from afar, how do you feel? Because you went to the Forbidden City.
Yes, I did.
Earlier today, and we heard you have an extremely demanding schedule here. So how do you like the cultural environment, and what impressed you the most about visiting the country this time?
I had only been to Shanghai before, so it's the first time in Beijing, and I have always loved your food and your culture, and of course you have incredibly rich history. I think going to the Forbidden City today, what left an impression on me were all of the symbolism about harmony and peace and serenity, all of the things that I think we have somewhat lost in the world today. So at the risk of sounding too spiritual, I felt like in the Forbidden City there were symbolisms that spoke to me that go so far back, that
thousands of years ago,
that maybe technology has it's given us so much, technology, and made us so close in some ways. The world is kind of borderless in a way because of technology. But it has taken away from us what I think every human being needs: human connection, connection to something that is bigger and grander than you yourself, connection to nature, the beautiful old trees, some of them 300 years older or more, in the Imperial Garden left an impression on me. And so I think if there's a way that we can find a more meaningful way, each of us as individuals, as countries, and as a world, to connect to some of these old wise principles, I think maybe we will find our way through the challenges of this time and come out on the better side of humanity.
Well, I'm really impressed and glad to hear that those ancient Chinese wisdom and values of harmony, of benevolence, of peace actually resonate with you during your trip.
Maybe we need more ancient wisdom. And I think in some ways, in many societies, we also sideline the wisdom of older people and some of the ancient wisdom as well. And so we are so busy running on the hamster wheels of the now that we're neither able to connect with our roots nor the future that we can co-create if we can just be a little more present with what is the right thing to do.
Just a little bit follow-up on our trip here. What is your favorite Chinese food? Your favorite Chinese cuisine? Number
Can I
one.
tell you that I just had kung pao chicken for lunch? But actually, it probably would have to be Peking duck. I really, really like that. But I like all of the Chinese. I love dumplings. I love so many things about Chinese food, the presentation of the food.
Yes.
I like Chinese fashion and sense of style, and the Chinese history has always been very impressive to me. I think it's hard for us younger countries, even with the rich history that Iceland has, to even get our head around all the history that we saw in the Forbidden City this morning, for example.
President Tomas Stoutier, before becoming president, you had extensive experience spanning entrepreneurship, teaching, human resource management, etc. So how do you think your background in private sector, along with your focus on creativity as well as entrepreneurship, translate into your leadership and the priorities of being a president?
I think I take a whole of society approach to most things because I have such a diverse background. And I think the challenges we are facing right now require a whole of society approach. I don't think any of the challenges we face can be solved by government alone. But government needs to set the guardrails, the rules of how business is conducted, how society is operated, and align the incentives with the future and not the past. I think we all have a role, and I try very hard in my role to bring people together across divides. And I think most of the challenges we are dealing with, from AI to climate change to closing the gender gap, they require government, private sectors, and citizens alike to both enact new policies, to shift norms, and to shift our own views and mindsets about the kind of world we want to leave for the next generation. So I really think that having a broad range of experiences serves me well, even if it is a bit surprising for my role to have an entrepreneurial background, to have worked in different countries, etc. I think it serves me well.
Madam President, it is a great pleasure talking to you. Many thanks for sharing with us your very inspiring insights. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you very much. And maybe just express my gratitude for the warm welcome I have received here in China. I don't take that for granted, and I'm quite honored by it. And I think I can almost sense that there is this mutual respect for each other in spite of size. And I think there's something really, really beautiful in that. And I hope to build on that, to further support our positive bilateral relations, and hopefully find ways where China and Iceland together, China and the Nordics together, can make a difference in a bigger world facing big challenges.
在专访当中，托马斯多蒂尔总统表示，中冰合作本身就是一段佳话，两国关系取得的丰硕成果也充分证明，不同国情的国家完全能够超越社会制度等差异，实现互利共赢。我们也期待未来中冰加强交往、深化合作，为两国人民带来更多福祉。感谢您收看本期的高端访谈，我是邹韵，我们下期再会。